Oh boy, look at that. The turkey couldn't look more gorgeous. Oh, yum. Now I'm gonna take the turkey out of the roasting pan. That's why I love these racks. Just gonna let it rest for a little bit, and I'm gonna pour off all the wonderful, magical, flavorful, incredible, heavenly juices from the pan. I'm gonna use that to make gravy in a little bit. All right, the last thing I have to do is make the turkey gravy. The turkey's out of the pan. I poured all the yummy drippings out of the pan, and I let the grease separate from the drippings. All right, now into the grease, I'm gonna sprinkle in some flour, and I'm gonna make a nice roux out of all of this turkey yumminess. And then just whisk it together. If the paste seems to be overly greasy, or if the grease starts to separate from the paste, I just sprinkle in more flour. I'm gonna grab a carton of low sodium chicken broth. I always use low sodium chicken broth when I make gravy, because then I can always add in more salt later. And I'm just gonna whisk it around while I add the broth. Okay, the next thing I'm gonna do is pour in some of the drippings. Now the drippings are all the liquid from the turkey minus the fat. I'm gonna pour in about a third of them. I don't always pour them all in at once. Now I'm just gonna let the gravy cook over medium-low heat. It's gonna get thick and start bubbling. And while it does that, I'm gonna get to work on the giblets. I've been boiling them just in simmering water, and I'm gonna chop them up and add them back to the gravy, and that just makes even more flavor. Now I also boiled the neck. I don't want any part of the turkey to go to waste. And I'm just gonna get a little bit of the meat off, just to have a little added texture, a little added flavor. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw all the giblets in, then I'm gonna stir them all in. Now this just needs to thicken for a couple more minutes, and then everything is ready.
Hey everybody, I am Michael Symon. Today I am going to show you how to make a roasted pork shoulder with a little bit of pan gravy. Now, pork shoulder is one of my favorite cuts in the entire hog. And today I'm going to show you how to cook it so it is meltingly tender and has incredible depths of flavor. And this recipe is pretty easy. The meat itself is going to do all the work for us, or most of it. So the first thing that you do is you go to your butcher and you order a pork shoulder. This shoulder is boneless. You can see it has that beautiful fat cap on top. When you are looking for pork, the whiter the fat, kind of the better flavor it's gonna have. So this has a lot of fat on top, which when we roast the meat is gonna kind of melt down into the meat and add a lot of flavor to it. A cut like a shoulder also has a lot of intermuscular fat and is a tougher piece of meat because it is something that works very hard on the hog. Now, shoulder and butt are essentially the same cut. So sometimes people get confused, like they think the butt is the ham. The ham is the ham, the shoulder is the butt. It could be a little bit confusing, but the shoulder of the hog is up here. Pork is not the other white meat. You want it to be rosy pink. You want the fat to be white. Then you're in a good place. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is they could tie this off for you at the store, or you could tie it off on your own. So you want to season it and tie it, or tie it and season it. It doesn't really matter. I mean, the string, you're not going to miss much seasoning if you tie it off first, but whichever is easier for you. I'm gonna season first because that's just kind of the mood I'm in today. So the first thing that we're gonna do is I have kosher salt here. This is a large cut of meat, a big cut of meat. We wanna add a good amount of salt to it. When you season from high so you get a nice even coat, and we're gonna put a lot of salt all the way around this cut. So the first, obviously on top, I'm gonna flip it over. We're going to season the exterior here, the sides, get a little bit in there. This is the advantage of not tying it first, is you can get a little bit of that salt inside, and same thing over here. So a good amount of salt. We're then going to add some cracked black pepper, again, all the way around. And lastly, some paprika. Paprika, I always say, is dealer's choice for you. You could use smoked paprika, you could use sweet paprika, you know, either one kind of works fine. It's just what you're in the mood for or what you have in your house. I'm gonna put a little bit of paprika down here because I don't wanna go from pork to paprika. Salt does not hold bacteria, it actually kills bacteria. So to go in and out of your salt bin is fine, but we don't want to do that with the paprika. And I did it with the pepper, so I'm going to have to disregard it. That's just my bad. All right, so all the way around, and now the top. And we're in a good place. Now, a lot of times when you go to the store and you see they sell rubs, and I think when people hear the word rub, they think that that means they're supposed to like rub all this in the meat. We're just going high and seasoning it evenly and all the way around. You don't need to rub this down in. The spices and seasonings are going to get into the meat as it's cooking. So now we're going to take a good amount of string. And again, they can do this for you at your butcher shop, but then you can't get inside of it when you're seasoning. I'm going to turn it, my board, this way so you can kind of see what's going on. And I'm going to go underneath and then up top with my first tie. And we're just going to get it as secure as we can and do a traditional knot in the top. Then we take our string, we go underneath the shoulder, bring it back around, and go underneath again. And this allows us to tighten it down as we go. Do the same thing, underneath, across, tighten, again, underneath, across, tighten, and then I like to go underneath all the way across with the last piece, depending on the length of it. You secure it right here. So you have a nice bundled pork shoulder. Tie that off. So now you can see this is completely tied off. It's secure. It's going to ensure that this cooks evenly as we roast it. Real quick, a couple notes. We season this, we're going to go right into the pan and roast it. Seasoning it with the salt and the pepper and the paprika, if you want to get ahead of yourself a little bit with prepping, you could season this the night before, leave it uncovered in your refrigerator. It'll allow the skin and so forth to form a little bit of a pellicle and dry out, which will give you really nice crunchy skin on the outside. So this could be done overnight. It could be done right before you go in the roasting pan. We're going to place this into a 300-degree oven for about 3 hours. Hit pause and we'll see you in a bit. All right, guys, so our pork shoulder has been roasting in the oven for 3 hours. I'm gonna pull it out so I can put the vegetables in to continue the roasting process. So we're gonna take our rack out, set it to the side. You can see it's rendered some fat at the bottom of the pan, which is great because we want our vegetables to roast in that delicious pork fat. So the first thing, I'm just gonna take a couple red skin potatoes whole. We're gonna throw those right in there. 2 onions, and we're just gonna quarter the onions. So we're just gonna take off the top, the bottom, and the skin, and then cut these into quarters, and they will go back in the pan. In addition to that, we're gonna put them 4 to 6 cloves of garlic, depending on the size of your cloves, and then some carrots that we're gonna half and let those roast in there also. So onions get quartered. Take off the skin, and then we're just gonna throw in these nice big chunks of onion and let them roast in that pork fat and those pan drippings. And there's so much flavor that comes out of a pork shoulder between the intermuscular fat that's rendering out and that fat cap that's on top of the shoulder. So it creates a lot of drippings. And we could take our vegetables and let them roast in that fat is just gonna add so many flavors to vegetables. Unless, of course, you're a vegetarian, then this is a terrible method for you, and you probably won't be eating the pork shoulder anyhow, so it's fine. All right, so all the onions go in. I'm gonna save my scraps. We're gonna take some carrots. The carrots, I like to use organic carrots, and they're about medium in size. When you go to the grocery store, sometimes you see those giant horse carrots, some little baby carrots. I like about a medium-sized carrot. I just take them, wash them very good on the exterior. I leave the skin on them. Your option is you could take the end off, or you could leave the end on for presentation. That choice is yours, but I'm just gonna cut the ends off. I'm gonna split these in half short ways and then in half long ways, and add those to my pan also. Just keep everything moving to the outside. And essentially here, you want to keep everything about the same size. So if the carrots are very thin at the bottom, like this guy's a little bit smaller, I would put it in because it's about the same thickness as the ones that we've halved. The ones that are a little bit wider, you could cut those in half so everything is roughly the same size. That is kind of the key to this situation. This one's a little bigger, cut it in half. Now we'll just grab a couple cloves of garlic. And we're just gonna peel these. I'm gonna give them a quick tap, cut off the end, and then peel them. So we just cut this off on the ends. We'll give it a little tamp with our knife so that skin just relieves itself really easily. If you have to do a lot of garlic at a time, an easy way to do this is you take the heads all apart, the cloves off the head, you can put it in between two metal bowls and shake it, and that'll release all the skins. But if you're just using a part of a head, I like to peel them a clove at a time, even though it takes a little bit more time. So we take off the skin, we throw it in. Always, always I'm not adverse to people taking some shortcuts in the kitchen, because I know with everybody out there, time is important to people. One cheat that I think that you should never ever make is, I would never ever recommend buying garlic that's already been peeled, already been chopped, already been sliced. It does not even taste like garlic. It's bitter, it's hot, it just doesn't have that flavor that you're looking for. I know this tends to be a little bit of a pain in the butt, but it really makes a huge difference in the quality of your food. I'm gonna give these a little pinch of salt, a little bit of cracked black pepper. We're gonna take our pork shoulder and nestle it back in there. So we're gonna place this back into our 300-degree oven. It's gonna go for about another 3 hours, and then we're gonna pull it out and let it rest for 15 minutes. So I'll see you in 3 hours and 15 minutes. All right, you guys, my pork shoulder has roasted for the additional 3 hours, so 6 hours total. We've let it rest for 15 minutes. I'm now gonna pull it out to the side. Look at all these gorgeous vegetables that have kind of roasted underneath them and gotten all those drippings. I'm gonna grab some tongs, and I'm just gonna move these over to my platter, so that when I slice this succulent, juicy, tender pork, it's just gonna lay on top of all this great veg, and then I'm gonna make a gravy in my pan that we're gonna put over to tie this whole thing together. So I'm gonna turn the heat up a little bit in my pan right now to get that fat kind of moving, which is also gonna keep these vegetables warm, because we're gonna make a roux in the pan with the pan drippings, and then we're gonna add stock to that roux, which is gonna give us an incredibly flavorful gravy. Potatoes. When I was a kid growing up, my mom, she made like a roast a week essentially. And as much as I love meat, and everybody knows how much I do, the carrots that would roast in the fat were actually, I found, even more delicious sometimes than the roast itself, because they would absorb so much flavor as they were roasting. So the fat's getting hot, you could see that in there. We have good caramelization on the bottom of the pan, a couple little bits of onion, which is fine. I'm gonna put in about a half cup of flour here, and we're gonna take a look. Essentially what we're looking for when we add the flour to the fat for our roux is we want almost like a wet sand consistency. So this is close. I need just a little bit more dusting of flour. So it's essentially equal parts flour to fat when you're doing this. And you don't know exactly how much fat the pork is going to render out as it's cooking. So you might have to add a little bit more flour. You get that wet sand. So that's going to cook for about 30 seconds to a minute, which is allowing some of that flour to cook out and brown and caramelize, which gives it a little bit of a nutty flavor. And then we're going to start adding our stock. So don't dump all your stock in at one time. Add a little bit at a time, and that way that you can give it a really nice stir to make sure that you don't have any lumps. You could also use a whisk here if you'd like, but I find that if you add your stock just a touch at a time and stir, it kind of ensures that you don't get a lumpy gravy. This is no different than how you would make a gravy from a Thanksgiving turkey. So the method is the same. We brown out that flour at first, then we add our stock. Once this comes to a simmer, it's gonna thicken up. We're gonna give it a taste, see if it needs any more salt and pepper, and then we're gonna add some flat leaf parsley to it. So while that is coming up to a simmer, I'm gonna chop my parsley. And I'm just going, this is a rustic dish, so, you know, if we were getting kind of real fancy at the restaurants, you'd pick every single parsley leaf and give it the perfect chiffonade and all that good stuff. This is kind of a rustic Sunday supper kind of roasted meat dish. So you could go a nice kind of rough coarse chop on your parsley, just one pass with the knife. And to be quite honest with you, if you wanted to go all the way down to the stems, to the tip here, the stems have a lot of flavor too. You could also, if you make your own stock, which I do, I'm not saying everybody does, but you could save those stems for stock because the stems have as much flavor, or actually a little more flavor even, than the leaf itself. So there's our flat leaf parsley. See how I'm giving this a stir right now? And you can see that there's no lumps in there. I mean, we have the little bits from the onions and the garlic, but that's because we added the stock a little bit at a time. So I'm gonna take my parsley and I'm gonna move it into this little container because we're gonna add this at the last minute. Parsley is a soft herb, so we wanna add it at the end so all the flavor, the oils bloom the last minute so we get that high impact of parsley flavor as we're done. If we added it all in the beginning and let that simmer for 5-10 minutes, it would kind of, the parsley would get a little bit flat. So soft herbs like this at the end. So now we're gonna take this pork roast. Look at that beauty. We're gonna set it right here. Save our stems for stock later. We're gonna cut off this twine. And then we're just gonna slice this up. And you can see as I'm cutting this, that fat has really rendered out nice. It's starting to get a little bit of crispness and texture to it. If you wanted that really kind of super crunchy exterior on your pork, you could, the last 15 minutes or so of the cooking, you could turn your oven up to about 450 degrees, and then the top would actually kind of almost puff a little bit like a chicharron, which is beautiful too. So that becomes a preference thing. You can go 300 from start to finish, and this fat renders up, has some nice crust to it, some nice texture. If you wanted it to get really crunchy, you could go super hot for those last 15 to 20 minutes. Just really keep an eye on it when you do that because you don't want to overcook your pork. Remove these strings. And then we're just gonna start slicing this up and we will top it with this beautiful hot gravy. Let me see, I think I got 2 pieces of string left. You could either get every bit of string or you could tell your guests whoever finds a string is lucky. Sometimes my mom, you'd find a string, and if you would find the string, she'd always say you had to do the dishes. So I guess that was unlucky. It really wasn't that unlucky because we had to do the dishes anyhow. All right, strings are gone. I'm gonna put my platter back over here. I'm gonna take my parsley now and I'm gonna add it to my gravy. We're gonna give this gravy a taste. A little touch of salt, just a little. I think it needs a good amount of cracked black pepper. Give that a stir and let that continue to simmer to cook out the flour. We want to cook that flour out. Give this a spin. And we're just gonna start slicing this up. So this pork roast, we cooked it for 6 hours. And the 6 hours is, you know, kind of a very good base time. What I would do though, like this is a sliced roast, not a pulled roast. So what I would do is I would put a meat thermometer in this as I was cooking it. If you want to be able to slice the pork roast, you're going to want to cook it to about 190 degrees and then it slices. If you want to do a pulled pork shoulder, you're going to want to take it to about 196 to 200 degrees and then that meat pulls real nice. So this is about 190 internal. Take that beautiful meat, lay it across our potatoes. And you can see this serves a bunch. Take some of that beautiful gravy. No lumps, lump-free. With that parsley sauce. Just go right on top with that gorgeous parsley gravy. This right here serve, you know, I would say 8 to 12 people, and you still have plenty of roast left over. Because the beautiful thing about making a pork roast like this is you can make delicious sandwiches the next day. So I like to have a good amount left over. So we have our leftover gravy. I'm gonna move my board and the rest of my pork roast over here. Give this a little wipe down. Chef gets to eat first today, which is very nice. Take a beautiful piece of that pork. Some carrots. Potato. An onion. The slow roast, the tender meat, that it's kind of an overused word right now, but the unctuousness of the pork shoulder because it's so juicy and fatty and rich and delicious. Gravy's spectacular. The potatoes, the carrots that have cooked in that, roasted in that pork fat. I don't take TV bites, never have, never will. I'm hungry, and that's all there is to it. So, thank you for joining me. I'm gonna continue to eat my pork roast. I hope you put this on the table for your Sunday supper. Carrots for everyone. Bon appetit.
Chicken fried steak, smothered in drunken pork gravy. You know, on Triple D, I've seen a lot of great biscuits and gravy. I've had some training in this field, okay? So the pork sausage goes down, not a seasoned sausage, this isn't a breakfast sausage or what, and a little recycling. Okay, red chili flake. What makes a good sausage? Needs some fat. Now, if you find out that your pork sausage doesn't have enough fat to it, well, then you can go ahead and fortify it with a little bit of vegetable oil. Touch of some red chili flake and a little white pepper and salt and a little bit of black pepper, okay? So let that work. Actually, I gotta break that down a little bit. And you know what, I can already tell just by seeing the way this is sitting in the pan because it's kind of sticking a little bit and the fat hasn't started to render out. I'm just gonna put a little oil into it. Let that break up. I want that sausage to break up. I don't want it to be big nuggets of the pork in there. So I'm just letting it render down. Don't have it on super high heat, just about medium. Some onions and garlic coming together with this. I've got this delicious pork sausage with a little chili flake in here. And this is the basis of this, what I call kind of an inexpensive down-home country meal. Kind of warms everybody up. Get some onions in. We'll let those go first and let those kind of cook in this this pork fat. Let's get into making the dredge for this chicken fried steak. The panko, the Japanese breadcrumbs, outstanding. Actually, I'll throw a little bit of those down right now. So the panko is gonna go in. And I like it because it's a nice super crunch. You know, it's nice and it's light and it's just got that real distinct crunchy flavor. But there's something about breading with a cracker when you're making chicken fried steak. And there's no chicken in that, by the way. Chicken fried steak is the term, but we're actually using steak. The onions are down. Let me get a little garlic in here. Kind of paste those two out. They call it chicken fried steak. I think it's because it's like a fried chicken crust. Okay, and a little more heat. Now, resealable bag. You could get cracker crumbs. You don't find them everywhere, but these saltines with or without salt will work great. Let's see, that looks like about 2 cups to you. There you go. If you get the freezer version of the resealable bags, they're a lot tougher and they can handle this a lot better. There we go. Now, we didn't eat a lot of chicken fried steak at the house when I was a kid. My parents were into, you know, some more organic cooking, but it's one of those things I always remember. When you smell it cooking, when you smell chicken fried steak going on, there's no forgetting it. Get a little bit of flour in here, because I'm gonna go with some buttermilk, the flour. Well, I'll explain in just a second. Okay, actually, you know what? Let me just keep this over here, and I think I'm ready to deglaze. There we go. Deglaze that pan with a little white wine. That's the drunken pork gravy idea. There we go. Little Dijon, give you a nice little bite to it. This is kind of a sophisticated gravy. Now I've got the liquid in here, and we let that wine kind of cook off a bit. And I'm just gonna go ahead, sprinkle some flour in right now. I don't want this flour to really gain any time here. I just want to kind of make a blonde roux. So the flour is gonna mix in with the pork fat. There we go. And then when I add the milk and the heavy cream into it, it'll thicken up on its own. All right, let that kind of cook down a little bit. There we go. A little salt and pepper for that flour. Down, a little stir. Make a simple egg wash. And then we're getting the eggs to stick to the flour and the panko to stick to the eggs. There we go. So a simple egg wash. Now, finally, let's take a look at this piece of meat. Pretty common piece of meat, the London broil. I like to use a piece of meat that hasn't gone through the tenderizer at the butcher. I'm gonna take it all the way through, like that. Take a resealable bag. Here's my little trick. Cut off the top, cut down the sides. Now it kind of makes a little envelope. Throw the meat in, make sure it's in there far enough. We don't want to sit here and really beat this up. We want to kind of work this gently from the inside to the out. I'm just tenderizing a little bit to make it a little bit smaller and make it a little bit easier to cook and keep a good crunch. So look at that. So nice little tenderizing to that. Into the buttermilk, some fantastic flavor. Leave it in here long enough, it'll actually do some tenderizing. Into the seasoned flour, into the egg wash, into the panko and the saltines. Now here's the key. Press down on it so you really get that panko to stick. Huh? What do you think? Take that, lay it out, let it rest a little bit to really adhere. Let me tell you about the gravy. What do I got going on in here? Well, what we have is some milk and some heavy cream, but you can see how it's kind of thickening up. I did that roux, added the flour in. It's a little bit thick. I'll just add a touch more milk. There we go. And let it continue to work. And I broke the gravy up with the wooden spoon as I went along. And the idea behind that is so I have little bits of pork in there, not big chunks. All right, so that looks dino. Let's check the back here. Now, to these cutlets. Look at that. If you're gonna do it, if you're gonna eat chicken fried steak, this is the way. So first check it. Just wanna check that oil. Oil should be right around 325 to 350. And why do you do it so thin? Well, I want to be able to cook the meat, get it to about a medium, and I don't want to overcook the breadcrumbs and have them get too brown, okay? Now, this is a big enough pan, I can actually put 2 in here, but you wouldn't want to try to squeeze 3 because by the time you do that, you start to expel a lot of moisture. So what happens is we're just about halfway up the chicken fried steak, just about halfway, not submerging it. So this is more like a shallow fry versus a deep fry where it's just completely submerged with it. We just want to keep an eye on it, make sure it doesn't brown up too quick. Take a look at this. This is what we did with the London broil, the chicken fried steak. Actually, I think this is mine. Oh, nice crunch. Primo crunch, actually. Okay, and here is the sausage gravy. We call it Drunken because we hit a little white wine in there. Looking fantastic. Bring this over here. And I gotta get a bite. Prime time, the gravy's out of bounds.
First thing I'm doing is sauteing about 1.5 cups of onions in some butter. And I like to saute them so they're really nice and translucent and maybe just a little bit brown. The butter can brown a little bit, it'll make a dark gravy. And I have here about 2 cups of chicken stock. Homemade chicken stock's great. If you can't, just use a really good canned stock. And I'm gonna pour all of these drippings into that to really enrich it and give it lots of flavor. Now I need a little flour. About 1/4 cup of flour goes in with the cooked onions and butter. And this is what's going to thicken the gravy. Okay, cook that for about a minute. And then I'm going to pour in this hot stock. And you'll see it's going to thicken up beautifully. This is the way to prevent having lumpy gravy, which is everybody's nemesis. So about 1 teaspoon of salt. I like to use kosher salt. Turn that down. And 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. Cognac is really very good brandy from the Cognac region. So you can use any kind of brandy or cognac that you have around the house. Oh, I love the smell of that cognac when it hits the hot gravy. It's just fabulous. I have some leftover white wine, so I'm going to put a splash of white wine in. That should be good. And then the last thing is a little bit of heavy cream. You can do this or not, but I just think it enriches it enough so that it really gives it special. Okay, and then the good part, I get to taste it.
To go with the biscuits I've got in the oven, I'm making a big batch of sausage gravy. Biscuits and gravy is a cowboy favorite. It's pretty much in their DNA. Everybody absolutely loves it. All right, I've got 2 pounds of breakfast sausage, and I just tore it into small pieces, threw it in a big skillet, and I'm just browning it up, and I'll use this to make the gravy. This gravy is so wonderful. It's really creamy and really thick, and it has little chunks of sausage all throughout. So, so good. So now I'll sprinkle in a little flour. I'll start with about 1/3 cup, and I'm just gonna make the gravy right on the top of the sausage. A lot of times when I make sausage gravy, I'll fry patties of sausage, take it out of the skillet, and then use the grease to make the gravy. But I love this method because you just keep it all in the skillet. It's a lot less work. Okay, now I'll stir this in. I want the flour just to completely coat the sausage, sort of becomes one, and I'll stir it around. It's always been a little difficult for me to give an exact recipe for gravy because there's so much eyeballing that's required. I just sort of look at it, and if it seems like it needs a little more flour, I just sprinkle it in. Okay, this looks perfect. The flour has pretty much disappeared into the sausage. So I'll grab the milk. I'm using whole milk just to make it extra rich and creamy. I'm gonna start with a good 5 or 6 cups. I used quite a bit of flour, so it's gonna thicken up. Stir it around. Now I'm gonna turn up the heat a little bit and let this start bubbling away. I really predict not a drop of this is gonna be left. The gravy is gorgeously thick. It looks just perfect, so I'm gonna season it up. I'll just add a little bit of salt. I don't wanna add too much until I have a chance to taste it. Plenty of black pepper. There's a lot of pepper in this meal. And then just a little bit of seasoned salt to give it extra flavor. Now I'll stir that around. It looks unbelievably wonderful. I could eat it by the spoonful.
Texas-style chicken fried steak, and what we're gonna start off with first is the battering process, and this is where the chicken part comes in. It's the same recipe as making fried chicken, and we're gonna start off with first is our battering station here. We're gonna make a dry mix and a wet mix, and the dry mix, it's really simple. And again, if you want to take this recipe and kind of keep it in your back pocket, so you've got one for chicken fried steak, one for fried chicken, it's all purpose and it's really, really delicious. So we got probably 2.5 cups of flour, all right? And that's gonna be enough to batter 4 gigantic pieces of steak. You guys see this stuff. And then we're gonna season this up, all right, with onion powder, garlic powder. All right, and now it's going to give it sort of a well-rounded flavor, so it's nice and savory. So it doesn't just taste like, you know, salt and pepper and flour. It has like a really nice kind of savory element to it. It tastes like something a little different. All right, a little bit of garlic, a little bit of onion, okay? And then a high note and a low note, so we're talking about salt and pepper. All right, nice big handful of salt. All right, and there's no real ratio to this. You can't really screw it up. You might be able to put too much salt in it, but definitely not enough black pepper, okay? So we got that, and then we got our wet mix, which is gonna be buttermilk. All right, now buttermilk is the way to go with this. If you don't have it, can't find it, or you don't like it, you can use substitute whole milk. So I got about 2 cups of some good, rich, thick buttermilk in there. And then we're gonna jack up that flavor with a little bit of hot sauce, so you know what part of the world we're talking about. All right, nice big splash here. Make it nice and spicy. And then we're gonna hit that with a little bit of salt and pepper too. And this is the base, okay? A little bit of salt and pepper. Again, a high note and a low note. All right, salt, pepper, and then I'm gonna take a fork, mix all these together. All right, and we are gonna be good to go. Okay, mix it all up so it's completely incorporated. Bang. Buttermilk. Flour. Where's the beef? All right, when it comes to making really good chicken fried steak, there's only one cut. Well, there's a couple cuts. You can use a couple different things. I've actually made really fancy chicken fried steak with like ribeye steaks. All right, it's actually kind of nice. But as far as like really traditional cuts, it's always bottom round. I've seen it in a lot of really, really old recipes for that. And bottom round is a cut of steak, and it's not a very tender cut of meat. All right, it's definitely not a cut of meat you want to put on a grill and expect to eat medium rare. It's kind of lean, right? It's not a lot of fat. A little bit of fat on the outside, but not much fat on the inside. It's pretty thick. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut this into 4 nice big slabs, and then we're gonna pound it out with a mallet, okay? So we're gonna cut it probably like a 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch, right? And then we're gonna pound it out. I've got a mallet here, and we're gonna use the side that has the teeth on it to really kind of break the muscle fiber and tenderize the whole thing. Good way to get out some aggression, right? It's gonna fall apart and melt in your mouth. Now that is a Texas-sized piece of steak. A dry, wet, dry technique here, right? So steak into our seasoned flour. We wanna make sure it's really, really well coated. Pat off the excess, and then into our seasoned buttermilk. Submerge it. Take that out, and then we're gonna put it back into our flour. It's ready for the fryer. All right, so we get everything well coated. I mean, take a look at that. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. What other state other than Texas could invent something this big and this delicious? All right, so we're gonna put that right onto the rack here. Quick little cleanup, all right? And then again, it's gonna go into the fridge here, all right, to let it set. And it doesn't take a long time. It takes around 20, 25 minutes, just to make sure you get a really, really solid crust. All right, so quick little wash up here, and we are good to go. This is one of my favorite dishes of all time. All right, in the fridge, 20 minutes. That's gonna give us plenty of time to make some great side dishes. We're gonna fry. So I got 2 inches of vegetable oil. I'm looking for like 365 degrees. If you wanna grab a thermometer, that's what you're looking for, okay? So if you don't have a thermometer, I'm gonna take a little pinch of this flour, drop it right on top. If it starts to fry and bubble right away, we're in great shape, we're perfect. Okay, so we're gonna take our steak. Now it's heavy, so you wanna be careful with this. All right, we're gonna drop it in and let it start to go. This is really one of the best dishes in America, chicken fried steak. I got the last piece simmering away right now. I got the 3 of the pieces on a board, letting some of the excess oil drain off. They're really, really super crispy, guys. They're staying nice and hot and they're great. It's really super crispy, guys. And take a look at this. And this is why they call it chicken fried steak, because it looks like a gigantic piece of fried chicken. I'm gonna put it right on top here. Now let's make some gravy, okay? Now, milk gravy is the only way to serve chicken fried steak. If you go to a place that doesn't have milk gravy and chicken fried steak, walk out. Drop out everything with about a 1/4 cup of oil right in the bottom. We're gonna take some flour and we're just gonna dump this right in. This is a white roux, we're making a white gravy. 3 tablespoons, and we're gonna start to cook this. Take a whisk, and we're just gonna stabilize and thicken our sauce. So the milk's gonna go in. We're gonna add about a quart of this, a little bit at a time. And then when it starts to smooth out, we're gonna add a little more, a little bit of buttermilk, and that's gonna give it a really, really fresh flavor. So a little bit of salt, actually a lot of fresh cracked pepper. And then because we're talking about Texas, gotta have a little bit of hot sauce right at the very end. A nice little splash, let that start to cook. And ladies and gentlemen, That is the gravy right there. That is the real deal. That's the stuff. Okay, we're gonna let this start to thicken. Okay, we're gonna take a crispy piece of some good old-fashioned chicken fried steak. Now that is a manly-sized meal. That's what Texas is all about, ladies and gentlemen. A big hunk of something. And we got a cream gravy right on top. Cream gravy, ladies and gentlemen. Look at that. You can't get this in France. You can't get this in Spain. You can get it in Texas, right? And maybe right here. Guys, this is a really delicious recipe. Try it out for your friends and family. They're gonna think you are a genius.
Torn biscuits smothered in sausage pepper gravy. So I have crumbled some spicy breakfast sausage, and it's all cooked down and the fat is rendered. So this is sausage gravy. So to make the gravy, I'll just sprinkle a good amount of flour over the crumbled sausage. And then I'm gonna stir this around and let the flour cook just a little bit so it loses that raw flavor. All right, that flour has had a chance to start cooking. So I'll pour in the milk. And I usually start with probably 2 or 3 cups. You just kind of add it till it feels right. Okay, I'm gonna turn the heat down just a little bit. And for this stage of the gravy, you just have to stir and let it slowly thicken over time. So the gravy is just about as perfect as it gets. Look at how thick it is, and you can see those bits of sausage. It is just, it's a work of art is what it is. I know Chuck would agree with me. So I'm gonna really pepper up this gravy. When I first married Ladd and kind of started cooking and eating the foods that they like to eat on the ranch, I was blown away by the amount of black pepper they put in things like gravy and mashed potatoes, things like that. I would add what I thought was an enormous amount of black pepper, and then I'd see them load their plates and sprinkle more pepper on top. So I have just added more and more through the years. When it comes to sausage gravy, the pepper adds a little bit of heat, but it really does add a great flavor. You miss it if you don't add enough of it. Now the sausage is plenty salty, so you don't want to oversalt it. I do like to add just a little sprinkle of seasoned salt, little bit of kosher salt. And of course with gravy, you want to taste it and taste it and taste it again until you declare it complete, ready to go. I do feel Chuck is watching me right now. Oh gosh, it's pretty perfect. So I've got the biscuits. Sometimes you can slice the biscuits in half and open them up to serve, but a lot of the guys like to tear the biscuits into pieces and then serve a big old ladleful right on top of the biscuits. And if the gravy gets too thick, you can just splash in more milk and stir it. Better add some more pepper, because I know Chuck would do that. Okay, biscuits and gravy, just like my father-in-law Chuck would serve it to himself. It does not get much better than this.
Gravy is a big thing. We say stuffing is the glue of Thanksgiving, but without gravy.
Where
right?
would we be?
I don't know.
Foundation.
You're gonna just cut up some celery and cut this head of garlic through the middle for 2 halves, exposing all the cloves. Onions in the bottom of the roast, just a big roasting pan. We're gonna act like we're actually roasting a turkey, but we're gonna use turkey parts. You can use a couple thighs, a couple of legs. The garlic we're gonna use these vegetables. This is my favorite thing, is to skip the cornstarch, the flour, all this, and use these roasted vegetables as our kind of really tasty thickener for your gravy.
You did that last year, and I
Yeah.
applied it to my own gravy, and no roux, no thickening. It's just pure unadulterated flavor.
So in the bottom of the roasting pan, single layer those vegetables.
And don't you think you really avoid that raw flour taste that sometimes gravy gets?
I honestly either end up cooking my roux or flour so long it tastes singed or burned, or it's raw and lumpy. I just remember my mother, like, you know, whisking those lumps of flour, and I just thought, you know what, Mom?
There's got to be a better way, Mother.
No more. So brush your rack a little bit with some oil, because the turkey can really stick. And, you know, I mean, I love to eat these wings when we're done. So you get a bonus snack on the side.
Look at that thing.
Yeah, this is big.
It's a pterodactyl.
Salt on there, and just let's pretend you're getting ready mentally for the whole bird also. So just right on top there, the two
Now,
wings.
Alex, could you do this like a week or two in advance and freeze the gravy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You could do this a week or two in advance, totally make all the gravy and freeze it. You could make it a few days before, whatever you like, honestly. And we're gonna roast these wings or legs or thighs, whatever you're using, at 375 degrees until the internal temperature is 160, 165 in the thickest part. I find the wings take about 2.5 hours. I know it doesn't look that way, but to really have them cooked and get that turkey taste, you gotta leave this in the oven.
I got you. Come on, Jeff.
Thank you. Okay, so here we are. In the oven we go. And I am gonna
I
pull-
just peeped them.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, they're so good, right?
Come on.
Come on. Why don't I just make this ridiculous? Sorry, thank you. Look at this. I mean,
Oh,
Look at that.
I know, right?
Let me get the hot sauce, some melted butter.
Wouldn't it be fun? Wouldn't it be funny?
Some blue cheese.
All right, right on the burner with this, right? We're trying to go also fewer dishes all the time, so we'll make the gravy right in the roasting pan. And this,
Smart.
honestly, my mother always did this. She just threw the pan on the burner and she started to make the gravy. So that garlic, those garlic halves, we'll actually leave those to the side. So put the turkey in here. You may,
Okay.
Oh, here we go.
right in there. We want to maximize flavor and from the meat, get all we can from it and eat the meat on top of it. So we're working OT here. All these just tender roasted vegetables. And by the way, that long cooking time is not just to cook the turkey, it's also to get those vegetables super tender. Some dry sherry.
Oh, yeah.
Right in there.
Oh, Cherie.
That's a very Alex Guarnaschelli.
It is.
Where's the vinegar?
I always
vinegar
put
on
it in
that
my
table.
Thanksgiving gravy. Dry sherry, always.
Isn't it? It's like lobster bisque and gravy. I gotta have it.
Yeah.
What about those bay leaves?
I know, you're eyeballing the
like
bay
the bay
leaves.
leaves.
You are. I'm gonna add a little bit of mustard. I'm sorry.
Wow.
Okay?
This is such
Here we
an
go.
What? There's nothing wrong with it.
I am sick of the
You
mustard
guys
shaming.
leave Alex
I
alone.
love it. I love
It's
it.
delicious. A little Dijon goes a long way.
Well, here we're looking to give all our
I
gravy.
use it in my gravy.
It's
yeah.
a thickener,
It's a
too.
natural thickener, totally. The 2 bay leaves in there. You don't have to use them if it upsets you. Now, my mother would mostly use water, or she would boil the neck and the gizzard all day on the stove in some water, and then use that to make the gravy. I think, shortcut, pour a quart of chicken stock in here.
And that's another thing when you're shopping for Thanksgiving, buy extra quarts of chicken stock. You always need more.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. Now, I think, we talk a lot about stock and broth, and I'm trying to get all that flavor from the wings into this. And we're just gonna simmer this. Simmer it nice and easy, slow and low. And then I'm gonna puree the vegetables in the blender together. We'll flake the meat, we'll make sandwiches, we'll eat it. We'll even drop some back in the gravy.
Okay.
And it ends
Oh,
up
here we
like
go.
this.
It looks so good.
Nice and thick. Look at this gravy, it's so
This
good.
gravy is
You might wanna-
gorgeous.
and maybe a rinse with a little stock.
Yeah, it needs a little bit of stock because it starts to get thick.
You want to keep some stock hanging around. I keep stock, a little pot on the stove or on the side for the whole meal prep. You like that? She's happy.
Oh, this is a perfect consistency. And the idea that we didn't use any flour or cornstarch in this, it's just naturally thick from pureeing those veggies in it.
Throw some meat in there. You could add a little vinegar if you need it. Adjust it, taste it.
We'll eat Brussels
You guys,
and wine.
this gravy is so rich. That's what I get from it.
Oh, no, she didn't.
And I think it's
Oh.
I think it's from having
She's going
that
back
bit
in.
of Dijon in there and
care.
pureeing the vegetables.
Yeah, it's really good. And then I
Super
like to
rich
let
and
a little of
delicious.
that gravy just pool.
I am making a meal fit for kings. So I'm starting off with my country fried steak. So I have some cube steak here, salt and pepper on both sides. This dish, I'm gonna dredge it with flour, my house seasoning, shallow fry it in my cast iron skillet. Then I'm gonna make a simple table gravy to go on top. So I'm setting up my dredging station. In this pan, I'm going to put 2 cups of all-purpose flour and a little bit of my house seasoning, about 2 tablespoons. That's salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, and paprika. That really does help enhance anything. In this pan, I'm going to add some eggs and milk to help that flour adhere to the steak. 2 eggs and a cup of whole milk. I'm just whisking my eggs and milk together. Okay. Cube steak, flour first, then the egg and milk mixture, and then back into the flour for the last bit of coating. The double dredge just helps you get that extra bit of crunch and coating on your steak. Now I'm gonna make my gravy before I start frying. Melt some butter, make a roux. A roux is basically melting some fat, adding some flour, so it becomes a thickener for the gravy. So I'm using 2 tablespoons of butter and 2 tablespoons of baking drippings. Now, this is how my grandmother always made her gravy. You get the saltiness, the smokiness. I minced 2 cloves of garlic, a little salt, some black pepper, a 1/4 cup of flour, and this is the beginning of my roux. I don't want to cook this too dark, so I'm just melting down the butter and the flour until there's no lumps, and then I'm gonna slowly add some half and half. So when you think about a roux, you normally think about, it getting nice and dark, but I don't need to do that for this recipe. I just want the butter and the flour to come together to help thicken the sauce. This is where I would like to turn down the heat and just let it stay warm until it's time to serve. My oil is at 350. That's exactly the temperature that I want. I'm just gonna drop my first batch of steaks into my oil. This is a shallow fry in a cast iron. And I'm just gonna fry these until they're browned on each side. I have my oven temperature set to warm. That's about 200 to 250. And I'm gonna keep them warm until it's time to serve. So this is gonna fry for about 3 to 4 minutes or until it's golden brown, and then I'm gonna take it out and do my next batch. I'm flipping my steaks now because they're getting brown at the bottom, so I want the other side to get just as brown. So I'm just gently flipping them over. Oh, that color is so pretty. And you can kind of tell when they're close to being done because they start to float at the top. So that means that meat is pretty cooked inside. Just something about the sound of anything frying just gets me so excited. That's it. All right, so they are done. Oh my gosh. Look how beautiful.
Got a super simple gravy and a few tips on how to make your gravy really good every time. I've actually roasted separately, and you can do it in a little tinfoil pouch like this, 2 sliced yellow onions and 2 whole heads of garlic, just roasted tender. And I just, picked them out, squeezed them out. So I've got all this. If you don't have a lot of liquid, tip number 1, add some stock or
turkey,
liquid to the bottom to pull up all those juicy little roasted bits that this turkey and gather all those flavors. You have so much flavor in your turkey. We want to get all that in the gravy. It also cleans the pan. We're washing dishes here, and we're making a great gravy. So I'm always looking for ways to thicken without using, stuff that makes it kind of gluey.
Like a roux. You don't want to roux it up?
I don't roux it. I don't do anything.
Roux the day?
I put all this garlic and roasted onion right in there. And you could do just roasted onions if you're not a garlic person, for example, right? And then to that, I'm just gonna add a few of my favorite tricks. One is mustard, but mustard has lecithin, which is a natural thickener, okay? So it's the flour of God's making.
Pipe down over there.
All these vegetables in here.
Smells delicious.
Yeah, and I can still smell your spices from the gravy. Tablespoon of vinegar, red wine vinegar. You don't have to do a lot to know where you're at with your gravy. You can just taste, see if you need a little bit of salt or seasoning. We've got a lot of surface area right now because we've got this big pan on the stove.
Maximum evap.
So it's
Maximum evaporation, exactly. If you're having a hard time reducing, put it in a wider conveyance on your range.
So I took a whole cup of dry sherry and I just cooked it down into a couple of tablespoons. Great trick. Reduce a lot of red wine into a tiny little bit. Give it that little flavor booster. All right, still a little watery. I like the vegetables. I like that rustic vibe. But I'm gonna just take some of this gravy with some of that onion and garlic that's melting in there. right? The garlic is super soft. You want to roast that until it just falls apart. It's super tender. We want a little bit of texture, right?
Sort of like an Italian bean soup. You take a little out, puree it, put it back in.
Put some back in so you
Yeah,
have
this
a
is
little
literally...
personality.
It's a great trick.
Yeah, but also just that trueness of roasted vegetables and your cooking liquids.
Yep.
That's what the gravy should be. Oh,
Careful.
boy.
Here we go.
Blender alert.
Here we go. I'm gonna stand back.
Yeah, just stand back.
Don't
That's a
fill
low
it up.
blow.
It's hot, so you don't want to fill it up all the way, and then you want to
you
start
go.
very low.
Nice and easy.
Okay.
Just blend it up smooth. Can you smell your spices in what I blended up?
I can
you
smell 'em
still
over here.
smell your spices.
The
So
chili
whatever
powder.
you put on your turkey, that's gonna be in your gravy, which is exciting, I think. I
I
get
agree.
excited. I get into Thanksgiving. And then pour that back in there.
Oh, look at that, Alex.
Come on, girl.
Wow.
By the way, my mother would butter the gravy. I mean, there would be like a slick of butter and this tiny bit of,
That's right.
of juice. All right, so we're gonna let this reduce a little bit, get luxurious so we can taste it with the turkey.
I'm excited to taste your gravy.
Now, I love that.
Yes.
The little kitchen taste, tear a little piece off that carcass, right? Or
Big piece.
Or tear a big piece off, I love it.
Which
Right
one
in
can I dunk into?
Go ahead, the one for the
The
table.
peppered.
Don't look.
That is delicious. And the zippy zip, that's the sherry.
And a little vinegar and sherry in
Vinegar
there.
and the sherry really did work.
I am making a sweet and spicy smoked turkey with smoked gravy.
Ooh.
Yes! And it couldn't be any easier.
Wait a minute, Jeff. What if I don't have a smoker?
You can use your gas grill or
Okay.
your charcoal grill, or just do everything here and just make it in the oven, right?
Okay.
I mean, if you don't have all that stuff, or if it's too tumultuous outside with the weather. But since it's beautiful out today, we're smoking this baby. And here's this I think about 13, 14 pound turkey here I got from the butcher. I spatchcocked it. We're gonna butterfly this, okay? Have your butcher do it if you're uncomfortable, or go to foodnetwork.com and get proper video instructions on how to do this. So we're gonna make a homemade barbecue rub, essentially. And this is my go-to. Again, this is available at foodnetwork.com/thekitchen. And starting with turbinado sugar. This has a higher caramelization point, so it creates a nice, beautiful, deep mahogany crust on this. We're gonna start with that. Then some granulated sugar, salt, and this is great for pork, any type of barbecue, chicken, ribs. So we got a little paprika in there, some chili powder, some granulated garlic, and a little dry dehydrated onion in there. A little heat, you can always taper this back or punch it up with a little cayenne pepper, some cumin, and some fresh grated black pepper. And that is it.
do it,
This
Jeff.
makes plenty, so you can keep this in a jar and
your
you
house
use it
seasoning?
throughout the rest of the season. Yeah, your in-house go-to. And I will hand this over to you, Miss
Okay.
Katie. And what we're gonna do is start on the underside, because our presentation side we want absolutely
Okay.
perfect. So give it a little love on the
Roll my
undercarriage,
sleeves
and
up
then
for this.
move over to the top rack. Okay? Here in a pan, I have some vegetables, just some peeled, whole, big, nice carrots, right? Fresh carrots. And I love these things. I've been using them nonstop. Those little mini sweet peppers right out of the bag. Beautiful color, beautiful flavor, no peeling, no cutting necessary. Just throw them all in there, nothing else, in a disposable aluminum pan. You know, now here I have my grill going, traditional gas grill at 350 with the smoker box in it. Let's take a peek. And once you see that, it's time to cook. So you don't want to, rush this process. You want to make sure the smoke is going good and fast and hard before you put your turkey on there. Looking good, Katie. Now remember, it's usually 15 to 20 minutes a pound. So this guy should take a little bit 2 hours, 2.5 hours. But we're not doing any math, because what should we be using when?
A thermometer.
A thermometer. So
Yep.
we want to bring this to about 160 and let that carryover cooking continue when we pull it off, and it should get to perfect 165 in the thighs and in the breasts. And this is it. Look at how beautiful it is. You see all those crystals from the sugar. So we're going to let this sit in the fridge overnight uncovered. What that's going to help do is kind of denature the proteins in there, break them down, make them extra moist, also dehydrate the skin, and put flavor throughout the bird entirely. So you don't want to skip that step of in the fridge, 24 hours, on a wire rack with proper circulation.
It's the most
And this is
annoying
what it
thing to
likes.
do is to find space in the fridge
It
for
is.
that, right?
It is. But what's
Gosh.
beautiful about the spatchcock or butterfly, it can fit in some of those tighter spaces.
It can,
You got
just
lower
move it
clearance.
around.
I'm smart.
Smart.
I'm Hobbit smart.
Here we go. And now we're just gonna take that rack and literally put it right on top of those veggies,
You
right?
are smart, Jeff.
So you still got more circulation. All the drippings are gonna catch in that aluminum pan, and we are ready to smoke.
Oh, look at that.
350, take the temp. It's going good, right?
Jeff, what kind of chips are you using?
I'm using apple wood. You can use cherry wood or hickory, whatever you like. Just try not to open it a lot in this first hour, all right? That's when the majority of the penetration of the smoke is gonna happen. But what we're gonna do in an hour in, as those peppers and carrots start caramelizing and catching all those drippings, you don't want it to burn any further, but you do want that intensity of flavor. We're gonna take a couple cups of just good turkey stock or chicken stock, and we're gonna let it cook for the rest of the way, helping us build the fundamentals in the base for our smoked gravy. Which brings me to the gravy. So I got some nice roux. We're taking up to a blonde stage here going on that. But when this cooks, when it comes up to temp, this is what it should look like, right? It's resting on those vegetables. We want to rest at least 45 minutes to an hour, all right? Do not rush this process. But if you do it right, the proper smoke, not looking, because if you're looking, you ain't cooking.
Okay, say it again.
If you looking, you ain't cooking. That's what it should look like.
Whoa!
Jim, I gotta tell you, I love this idea. If you don't have a roasting pan, this is a great way to create one
Nothing
at home.
changes, and we are not going to waste any of that. But look at those. That's why we kept them whole, right?
Wow.
Because it's going to cook evenly. It's not going to get overcooked, and we're going to use these fat separators, which I love.
Oh, that's so cool.
I'll catch some of those solids right there.
It's the thankless job around the holidays.
It is, but it is a necessary step, unless you're
there with
making
a
a
spoon.
roux from the fat.
Which is also great. If you have the
Awesome.
time. Yeah.
So you see in the fat separator, you can already start it to see it to, you know, the fat separating from the liquid. Now, I got my roux over here. We are going to add this directly to there. Whisking quickly, making sure there's no clumps. Right? Kind of seeing right as that fat starts to run out. I mean, the liquid starts to run out. We don't want to use any more. You can always add some more stock in here. Just let it simmer until it's right under your desired thickness, I think, right? Because as it rests in the boat, it's going to get even thicker. But all those flavors from the vegetables and the smoke, and this is what we're looking at. To me, this is the perfect, silky
Get that in there.
nappe.
And you know, Jeff, you are right on trend with this because last year, smoked turkey was the top searched turkey recipe in 25 states.
Are you serious?
Wow.
Yeah,
Where was I? Where was I?
thinking?
I'm going to transfer this turkey.
You know what I mean?
Oh, look at this, Jeff.
Wow.
And again, it's not just cool to spatchcock and say you did it, but it also helps cook the turkey way more evenly. The dark pieces tend to cook at the same
And a lot
rate,
faster,
a lot
too.
faster. I'm just going to throw a couple of
You wanna
these
put
in
them all
there.
in this dish?
Yeah, please do. I just like a little
All right.
bit on display.
It's also great. You just freed your entire oven for all the sides.
I trade you places.
Thank you
Right?
very much. But look at that. You can feel.
The creme brulee of the holiday.
That's right.
You like that?
Ew.
Look at the juices. Look at you
Look at that.
slicing old school.
But this is like
Jeff, that
no
bird is
wet brine
so-
either. The dry brine,
Yeah, I'm not
you
a-
know,
I'm not a
does
wet
make
brine.
a
Jeff,
big
you better
difference.
be tossing me a piece of that over here.
Katie, it looks
I worked
so
hard on this turkey.
All right,
moist. Yeah, I just. Hello.
And then
at
I'm going
that.
to give you some of these vegetables, which you will like, because again, turkey and smoke flavor in there helps.
I like it. It's a very unusual garnish. I think that's really smart.
Gravy me up.
Right?
I like a lot of gravy.
Peppers.
Here we go. Hold on.
Peppers.
Hold on, move
Because
that. I'm gonna.
peppers
This
are
is it.
True.
It's the gravy
Look
shot
at that.
right
Look
now.
at that. Oh, yeah.
That's
Tell
what
me.
I'm talking about.
Easy breezy, evenly cooked, perfect. Oh,
Jesus.
All right, give me a knife and fork. I got to get right into this.
We ain't got time for you,
Turkey is really my favorite part of Thanksgiving. I know there's all the sides that are important, but the turkey.
Jeff.
So I'm making Swedish meatballs. They're super moist and flavorful, and they swim in an extra creamy gravy with tart, bright Lingonberry sauce on the side. To get started on the balls, I've got ½ a pound each of ground beef and ground pork. I love that flavor combination. It's a great amount of fattiness. And then I'll sprinkle in 3/4 cup of breadcrumbs, 1/3 cup of milk, and 1 lightly beaten egg. And the combination of the egg and the milk and the breadcrumbs will help the meatballs bind together and then also contribute moisture. I'll season with a teaspoon of kosher salt
and black pepper. And then nutmeg, ginger, and allspice, which is a delicious warm combination that is a defining feature of Swedish meatballs. And then freshly grated nutmeg is always gonna taste better than the pre-ground stuff. So I'll do a few passes on my fine duster. A couple of tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce for some dark depth. And then half a yellow onion, finely chopped, and a couple of garlic cloves that I've softened in some oil. I've got a baking sheet here lined with parchment and my scoop. I'll have that standing by while I mix up my meatball mixture. I'll just get in here with my hands. So my favorite Swedish furniture store has delicious Swedish meatballs. These are my version of those furniture store meatballs. Okay, I've got my scoop here to make them all uniformly sized. This is about a tablespoon-sized scoop. I'll get this onto my baking pan, and then I'll keep on rolling. And these will bake at 425 for 10 minutes while I make my gravy. This gravy is rich and decadent, and it coats the balls just perfectly. I'll start with 3 tablespoons of butter, and I'll combine it with 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. So the butter and the flour will make a roux, and that's what will thicken my stock to create a luxurious, thick gravy. I'll cook this off for about a minute or 2 just to get rid of that flour flavor. And then add a bit of allspice, some thyme leaves. I'll strip these right off the stem. And then a dollop of mustard. I think the zinginess from the Dijon kind of helps balance out all the richness. I'll gradually whisk in now 2 cups of low-sodium beef stock. And as it combines with the roux, it'll thicken up. So I'll whisk constantly so that the roux gets incorporated smoothly with the stock. Oh, it smells good. I'll amp up the richness with half a cup of heavy cream. Since Swedish meatballs are smaller, they're healthier. So there's room for heavy cream. A couple of shakes of Worcestershire sauce will add that great depth. I'll let this bubble for a few minutes now so that it thickens up. Making a gravy is so satisfying because you get to watch it thicken up before your very eyes. Making this gravy is a good activity to do in the few minutes that the balls take to cook. Speaking of which, oh yeah, these look great. They're gonna look even greater once they're cloaked with this creamy gravy. I'll get them right into the braiser. I'll fold them in to get them totally coated in the gravy. I'm getting excited. Gravy looks good on these. I'll plate them up. Oh yeah, look at how creamy that is. Sprinkle on some fresh parsley. Get the necessary lingonberry sauce. Lingonberry sauce is tart. It's a little bit like cranberry sauce, and you've got to have it with a Swedish meatball. That's a perfect bite. That is so good. Just melts in your mouth. It's so flavorful. And I gotta be honest, I kind of feel like putting together some furniture now.
So I'm making my Dutch oven turkey breast with gravy.
Yep.
Come on.
Dutch oven
Come
turkey
on.
breast.
This is gonna be your easiest turkey situation ever, okay? So I've got, oh, Jeffrey, if you can actually start on this for me. Just chop up the carrot and celery.
Yes.
I've got a boneless turkey breast. A lot of times they're already tied in the package. Right now, I'm gonna start the base of our Dutch oven. So everything's gonna cook in this one pot, including your gravy.
What?
So, yes,
Come on, girl.
yes.
You've been working too hard, Jeff.
Yeah, we're
Always
gonna
years.
start it
About a
off
year.
with some butter, like every good recipe should start with on Thanksgiving. And it's the kind of recipe that doesn't have to just be for Thanksgiving either. You can make this whenever. All right, onions. And we told Iris that it was chicken.
That's right. That's right. Can we pull the footage
Garlic.
of pre-Iris Katie when she said she was never gonna do that to Iris?
Oh, yeah, yeah. All the things you say before you have a child change.
Yep.
Immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Katie, I noticed this turkey doesn't have
onions.
legs or wings.
Yeah. Welcome, Jeffrey.
Oh.
Welcome.
Good to see you, buddy. Glad you're here, bud.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for you and your memory.
So I guess GZ's on the dark meat side?
Yeah, right?
Okay.
I've got a little bouquet garni, so it's just got some fresh sage, some rosemary, and some thyme that's gonna go in.
Love it.
The celery and carrot's gonna go in, and some bay leaves. And I'm just gonna let that cook for a couple minutes, let those start to get nice and tender. Add a little salt to it, because we wanna salt and pepper every step of the way.
Have you guys ever been to the grocery store kind of like the day before Thanksgiving? And it's slim pickings sometimes. So this is also a good way to, like, if you get in there and all that's left are the breasts, because that can happen at times. This is a really
and I
good...
also, like, if you're cooking for a big group, I usually will do a turkey and a turkey breast. And the turkey breast I do ahead of time. So this you can make ahead. So I've got a lot of salt.
A lot.
Pepper, garlic powder, onion powder, paprika.
Is that smoked or regular?
So it's just regular paprika. So this is a dry brine, which I first started dry brining my turkeys after Jeff Mauro dry brined a turkey here.
Come on, Jeff, you an influencer.
He's an influencer before there were influencers.
That, the sandwiches.
All right, so I'm just gonna take it all over the turkey and get it on both sides. Jeffrey, why don't you do that? Rub it all in, and then you'll wash your hands, okay? Put it in the fridge. It's gonna be uncovered in the fridge overnight, okay? And all of that flavor is gonna penetrate the turkey breast. Then 30 minutes before it's time to cook, take it out, let it sit so it's not like super cold, and we're gonna get it into our Dutch oven.
Now, you say you make this in advance. How many days in advance do you think that this can be made?
Like start to finish made?
Yeah.
I do it like the day before.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so into the Dutch oven.
Girl.
You guys smell how good this smells? I'm gonna add some wine to it. Use a nice dry white wine, something that you would drink.
And if you don't care for wine, you can just stock it up the whole way?
You just use stock the whole way. I really like having the wine in there because this is what your gravy's gonna be made out of. And it really adds like a nice tang. And then I add some chicken stock to it. And, maybe a little bit
It's
more
probably
salt.
counterintuitive to everything you learn, because then you're gonna put a cover on. Like, what about the brown skin? You know, it's like,
but you gotta take
wait.
it off.
You're gonna get it.
You're gonna see, you're gonna see.
Just wait. But wait, there's
get
more.
that for you.
Yeah, all right, so I'm gonna roast
okay, Jeff,
this
I got
in
it.
the oven, 350 degrees. Let's put it in. It is heavy. Middle rack. So it's gonna cook for an hour with that lid on, and then I'm gonna take the lid off, and for another 30 to 45 minutes uncovered. All right, guys.
Come on, people.
Look at that crispy skin.
That's it. No mess.
Come on.
No mess.
So easy, and it stays so juicy because it cooked with the lid on for most of the time, so it
How
stays
long?
really
Run
juicy.
us back again. So what's the temp?
350 degrees.
Dough.
And then you want to do like 45 minutes to an hour with the lid on. And then take the lid off, and depending where your temperature is of the turkey, you're gonna do about another 30 to 45 minutes with the lid off so that that skin gets really nice and brown. You wanna let your turkey breast cook till it has an internal temperature of 165. Jeffrey, I'm gonna let you
want me to do this?
slice up this turkey.
Oh, GZ.
Yep.
Easy.
And I got a platter down there. If you get the platter and
All right,
arrange
I'll
it,
do
I've got
everything.
some fresh
Oh, you want a
herbs
thing?
to make
Oh,
it
you wanna do a
pretty.
thing, okay.
And I'm gonna make our gravy, because the gravy is gonna be cooked right in the Dutch oven. So you're not dirtying up a bunch of dishes. This took 1/3 of the time of making a big turkey. And so to me, for Friendsgiving, this is just a lot simpler. And I've got in here onions, garlic, celery, and carrots. I had a little bouquet garni and some bay leaves that I took out. So I turned the heat on low. There was butter in there, white wine, chicken stock. I'm gonna add in some Dijon mustard.
GZ's eating the turkey.
Is it good?
GZ.
Yeah. And I'm gonna whisk in that Dijon mustard. That's gonna just give it more flavor and also a better mouthfeel. And I'm gonna add in, ooh, here we go.
Girl. I looked ahead on the test and you aced it.
A little chicken stock. All right, and then I'm using my immersion blender. If you don't have one of these, you can put it in the blender. But one less dish to clean.
Yeah, I just take that thing off and blast it with a little spray of water and put it right back in the drawer.
I move to the sink, I keep it plugged, and I go
Is that what you do?
under the thing.
And here we go, just puree in this whole thing. So if you notice, I didn't put any flour in this gravy.
Nice and
You're
thick.
crazy.
You don't have to add any thickener because the veggies are gonna thicken it up.
All right, while you're doing that, I think we can all agree that you must make your own gravy.
Yes.
It is not
Yeah.
a buy.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. Like, I'll buy that can of cranberry sauce, though.
All right,
Wow,
our
look at
gravy
this.
is done.
Katie, what do you feel about dessert?
And
We need
look
to
at
know.
this.
Are you buying or DIYing?
Oh,
dessert?
I am doing a little bit of both. Probably just asking people to bring it. I'm gonna taste this and make sure that we have the right seasoning.
Oh, yeah.
Can't wait to eat.
Ooh,
I know, I've
good.
had
It's got a
turkey
nice
since
little
last
tang.
Thanksgiving.
I'm gonna turn the heat up a little bit so it gets a little warmer. You like it? It's
You know
got a
what's
lot of
good? It's
flavor, right?
absolutely no floury.
Yeah.
Right.
So
There's
good.
no
The
gunk.
mouth feel,
Yeah.
right?
All right, I'm gonna just go do a
Oh,
Katie.
Katie!
Oh, look at
More,
that.
more.
Come
Put
on,
more.
girl.
Come on.
You guys saw how easy this was.
Yeah, it
And
was
we've
very
got
easy.
one pan to clean up.
It's one pan.
I think the waiting is
one-pan
probably the
plan.
hardest part. One pan plan.
There's no stress. You know how so many times you're making the turkey and then you're like freaking out, like, oh my gosh, I gotta get the gravy
I was gonna say, I
done.
need some more
People are
gravy.
hovering around.
Get out of my kitchen. Let me do this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh.
I need to see what's happening.
All right, give me that. Look at those
Oh.
thick cuts, Jeff.
Yeah, that's
you
a-
cut some.
Yeah.
GC, your
right
cuts
here.
are very generous.
Order.
My
No, I think you need a
goodness.
toothsome piece.
I'm just running this, you know, with my little butter knife, Katie.
What do we think? Good?
Excellent. I'm gonna have an end piece. I want that back
You want that stem?
crunch.
Going around the top.
Dude, I'm going too.
Is it my
Dousing
job to
hot,
talk
it's hot,
right
it's
now?
hot.
Hold on.
We've eaten a lot of each other's turkeys on
Yeah.
this. Like, this is up there, man.
Really? You guys like it that much?
Oh.
Wow.
Let me tell you why I like it. First of all, it's juicy. It's salty on the inside. Not salty bad, salted on the inside.
Yeah.
Good. We're not trying anything new. We're just perfecting what we know. But what I truly love about this is seeing it come together, realizing it can just go into my Dutch oven, realizing I don't have to do the big Norman Rockwell bird. You know what I'm saying?
And you still get like a beautiful effect.
Yeah. This is a juicy turkey breast that usually, you know, turkey breast is hard to keep juicy. The gravy's delicious. Yeah, you want to say it. Jeff,
You
say
could
it,
eat that
Jeff.
all
I'm
winter
just
long,
so
right?
into this, and you know, don't be afraid to cut it that thick too. 'Cause
Yes.
It almost keeps it juicier
Yeah.
because it's not drying out the minute it hits your plate.
Plus, you get your skin.
Yep.
Yeah.